Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to the War Room. I wanted to start off this War Room with a compliment to you all who have commented in last week's War Room. The War Room, if you didn't catch it, was slightly hinted towards religion because I was watching a show called The Story of God, which was presented by Morgan Freeman. And that show, well, let's say it was very interesting to watch, and I was expecting quite a flame war in the comments, but that didn't materialize. So, well played and well done to everyone who commented there. Gotta say, kudos, because most of the time, either on the internet in general or on YouTube in specific, these things tend to explode. But that didn't happen, so good job there. So, what have I been up to last week? Well, I've been doing some network meetings in order to get more exposure for my company. Gotta say, really interesting to do it. I used to not go to too many network events because I thought they were not that interesting and that my target audience wasn't exactly there. And a few weeks back, I linked up with a business coach who I told about that and about my objections to not going to network meetings because my target audience wasn't there. And he says, look, I get most of my business from these network things, from these face-to-face events. So I thought, okay, let's go to it. Might as well try it. And he said, yeah, well, here's the thing. What do you think when you're meeting new people? And I said, well, they're not my target audience. And he says, do you think that's going to really help you? That mindset of, well, these people are not that useful to me anyways. Do you think that's going to help you? And of course, I had to say no. So then he said, okay, so what would be a better mindset, a better, let's say, chorus in your head to actually start to meet new people? And I said, well, I think the better thing to think would be everyone's interesting. So that's what I was thinking when I went to several networking events last week, and I gotta say, it went really well. I didn't meet any new clients, not per se, but what I did meet were some very interesting new people. And of course, with networking, you don't have to be thinking, is the person in front of me interesting? Or is the person in front of me going to be of use to me? I'm always thinking about that the other way around. What can I do to help this person? Whether it's body language, whether it's contacts in my network, whether it's information that I've read, written, or found online. What could this person use? And if you approach it like that, then you can tap into at least one of my strengths, which is trying to help people, trying to make sure that they get what they need to succeed, whether it's body language or anything else. And aside from that, it's not per se about the first level of connection, which means that the people that I meet, they may not be interesting, but the people that they know, their family, their friends, their co-workers, they might be interesting. They might be clients. And if I leave the right impression with them, I can then turn those second level connections into clients. And that's exactly where I was mistaken a few weeks ago when I wasn't going to these events, because I didn't think to look to the second level, and I did so now. Again, don't really have any clients just yet, but I do find it interesting to go to these things again, and I'll continue to do so. An interesting book that I've been reading last week, by the way, yes, it's book/story time again, is the 80-20 rule, or at least I'm not exactly sure what the title is, I don't have it written down here. I think it's the 80-20 way of living. Now, if you're not familiar with what 80-20 means, it stands for a very interesting phenomenon, which is where 20% of something has 80% of, let's say, numbers, 80% of results, 80% of gains, 80% of whatever. If you look, for example, where wealth is in the country, most of the wealth, let's say in the world at large, only a few percent of the populace, so let's say 3%, has, I believe, 95% of the wealth globally. Let's say that 80% of all traffic accidents are caused by a segment of 20% of the drivers. So let's say that one specific target audience or one specific group is much more likely to get involved in a car accident. But it also works for my business and for your business and for your life and whatever. 80% of, let's say, my business is likely to be generated through 20% of my activities. So what does that mean? Well, let's say that you have several ways of meeting new people. One of them for me is LinkedIn, one of them is Facebook, one of them is face-to-face. Some people just stumble onto my website. But 80% of my clients came through 20%, which is face-to-face and LinkedIn. So those are the channels that I should focus on. That's exactly what this book is about. Make sure you focus on those channels or those steps which get you 80% of results. And if you do it like that, you're going to have more success without working too hard or without being too, or without spreading yourself too thin. Because let's say that when you're starting out with a business, people say, well, you should have a Facebook page and you should make ads and you should run Google AdWords and you should do SEO and you should build a website and you should get calling cards and you should go to network events and you can only do so much. So by focusing it on the 20% that is most likely to get you your results, you can then focus on those and get more results by actually working less. So I decided to try and apply this to, let's say, Wargame and World of Warships and some other games and some other, pretty much some other practices. What is generating 80% of my wins or 80% of my fun in, for example, World of Warships? And it turned out to be aircraft carriers. I had a look at my numbers for World of Warships. What am I good at? What am I not so good at? Turns out I am, according to a website called WOWSnumbers.com, which is basically XVM, if you're familiar with that, from World of Tanks, instead for World of Warships. According to that, I am Unicum/Super Unicum for aircraft carriers. Now, I really hadn't expected that. I usually get very, very frustrated when I play battleships or cruisers. And the easy thing is to just not play them. A game is supposed to be fun, right? So don't play the things that are not fun to you. And that's exactly what I've been doing with World of Warships. I've been having more fun. I've been getting better wins. I've been getting more XP per match. I've been more of an asset to my team, and my win rate has gone up. Same thing for Wargame, basically. What 20% of my decks am I best with? And for me, it turns out I am really, really good with the UK. Let's say UK armor, Commonwealth armor. What I'm not good at it is airborne. I consistently mess up with airborne, get no wins whatsoever, and then proceed to beat myself up over it, seeing a terrible win ratio. So stuff like that can be really, really interesting to look at. And that's my question to you. What 20% of, let's say, steps, or 20% of actions is generating 80% of either your wins, your fun things in life, whichever it is? Oh, and to give you one more Wargame example, it's perfectly likely that out of the categories that we have in Wargame, so tanks, support, infantry, etc., 20% of those categories is generating 80% of your kills. So let's say that I think that this M1A2 that we've been kind of following will have gotten quite a decent number of kills, or at least the point value will be quite high, considering it's a very hard-hitting vehicle, and it will be generating a lot of the kills for this player, which is Max 899. About this 10v10, by the way, I have more on that later. It's going to be turned into a separate video. Anyway, what else happened last week? I turned 28. April 13th, I turned 28. Now, of course, there's the usual comments of people saying, oh, you're turning 30, or you're almost turning 30. Yeah, well, not quite. I still have about 720 days left, so I am not worried about that. And even if I do turn 30, so what? So what? Um, when it's my birthday, I'm always... sorry, let's start with the first things first. I don't celebrate it. I usually invite my parents over, my girlfriend's parents, and that's it. I just pay no attention to it whatsoever. Because, in my mind, why would you get a birthday present for your birthday? What does it signify? Is it a sort of signal saying, well done, you survived another year on this planet? Is it a show of appreciation? Like, well done, glad you're still with us? Is it... I don't know. What do you think the reason is for giving birthday gifts? And what's your take on it? What kind of birthday gifts do you like giving? Do you like receiving? So let me know in the comments down below, because I'm interested in how that happens in your country, what your thoughts are on that, and it's something that is not usually talked about. It's usually like, well, let's say implied. You go to a birthday party, you give them a gift, period. Don't think about it. But why do you actually give them a gift? What's the reason? What does it signify? So I'm interested to hear and actually read your thoughts in the comments on that. Now, something else that I am currently waiting for a response for is a job. I applied for a job as sales trainer at the largest online company in the country, or the largest, let's say the largest e-commerce business, which is Coolblue. Fellow Dutchies will know the company. Coolblue in our country is a really, really big e-retailer in the sense that it has, I believe, 200 and something web shops. I should really look up that number before I'm actually going in for the job interview. 200 and something web shops, over 1,000 man personnel, and they've been around for, I think, 15 years by now. So in 15 years they grew from a company of 3 to a company of 1,000. That's a very, very impressive growth for a company like that. And I should be hearing something about that, well, hopefully this week. They were guaranteeing a response between 0 and 14 days. It's been 7 days so far. So let's see what's going to happen on that front. Anyway, as for the games, what have I been up to? Well, I already mentioned it, World of Warships. I've been playing World of Warships quite a bit again. Mostly focused on aircraft carriers, because 80-20. I do play some cruisers, but not too many, because I don't find that I'm very good at them. I do, however, have a video coming up from one of the replays, or a replay of the Atlanta class, which is a cruiser. It just handles like a destroyer. It handles like a very, very fast little ship. But, and again, more on that in a separate video. I've also been playing some more Fallout. I decided to pick that up again. Never really completed the story last time around. Fallout 4, by the way. Fallout 4 I'm talking about. Never really completed the story, and I think it's still a great game. I decided to go for a character that's going to be, let's say, a silent assassin. So, agility. Whoops, sorry about those pings. Agility and, what's the other one? Perception, in order to detect enemies from farther away so that I can snipe them very silently with a silenced weapon. I just don't have any of those yet, but I'm hoping to get those things quickly. I have the game somewhat modded, but I haven't found any really good mods aside from weapons mods. So if you have any great mods for Fallout, please link to those in the comments. What I do want to read you something from is something from PC Gamer, who was creating a character that is based around luck and charisma. Now, if you're not familiar with Fallout, you have 7 perk categories, or 7... yeah, how should we call this? 7 character traits, in a way. They're called specials, standing for strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Now, for example, agility and perception are interesting skills or interesting perk levels to go for when you have a character that you want to turn into a good fighter. Let's say an assassin, in my case. But what happens if you give someone absolutely no combat skills and turn, or put all of your points that you get at your character creation into charisma and luck? That's what someone tried from PC Gamer, and here's the thing. Two armed thugs are demanding a woman repay a perceived debt. She's refusing, and they're threatening her. That's when my new Fallout 4 character, Chuck B. Lucky, strolls up and points his pistol at the two goons while desperately hoping he won't have to use it. You see, Chuck doesn't have a problem with killing, he's just terrible at it. When I created Chuck, I put all of his points into Charisma and Luck, maxing out those two special stats. I've also limited him to perks from those two stats, meaning I've got precious little in the way of combat skills. But there are other ways to get by. The two goons see Chuck's drawn gun and immediately stop what they're doing. This is thanks to Intimidation, the 10-star perk that was immediately available to me after maxing out Charisma. It gives me a chance to pacify human enemies who are of a lower level than I am. In fact, the goons are so intimidated that when I demand that they give me their money, they immediately do so. How does that feel, jerks? These two goons aren't the only jerks present though, because Chuck isn't really a hero. I have the option of telling the thugs to split, but something tells me there's more money to be made out of the situation. Rather than chasing them away, I offer to help them recover the money from the woman they've been threatening. My services don't come for free, however, and I demand payment for helping the goons, who somewhat sheepishly remind me that, I just dropped them. Yeah, good point, goons. Instead, I make a deal. I'll recover the woman's debt and we'll split it. I talk to the woman, convince her to pay up, Charisma, again, and take my cut. Then I use her money to buy some extra ammo from her, and I use the goons' money to buy stim packs from the goons. It's a little weird buying things from three people I just dropped, but this has Fallout 4. It's a weird world. I had to laugh really, really hard when I first read this thing. It's very, very interesting that you can do something like this in a computer game. You're basically talking your way through. Now, there are some scenes in Fallout 4 that are completely unavoidable as far as violence goes. You have to absolutely use violence in order to go through some sections of the story. But other than that, if you can charm and talk your way through, I think that's a really, really interesting way to do it. I haven't actually tried it yet, because it takes quite a while to come up with a character like that. But if you have, let me know what your experiences with that are. If you want to continue reading the post that I just read a little bit from, the link is in the description down below. Anyway, other games that I've been playing. Factorio, more Let's Plays coming up every 2 days. And I have been playing a bit of Wargame Red Dragon, especially yesterday. That was Sunday 17th. I had a lot of fun with the guys on TeamSpeak. One of the games, and this is one that you're looking at, was a large 10v10, and all 10 of us were on TeamSpeak, so it was a lot of madness, really. We're pretty disciplined on comms, so it wasn't a complete shout fest, but I'll let you be the judge of that, as a video of that is going to be coming up soon. As for this week, I'm going to be doing more networking. I'm going to be stalking an event in Rotterdam, a city near me. It's the Maritime Offshore Career event. If you happen to be going there, ping me in the comments and we can link up. What I'm going to be doing is looking at the companies who are presenting there. And basically, it's one of those large exposition events where the companies can rent a sort of booth to present them and attract new talent, because it's a career event. Now, what most of those people who are sent by their boss to stand at one of those events don't really realize is how important body language is. So, I'm going for 2 sections. Or actually, I'm going in with 2 different ideas. One is going in with just my smartphone and taking pictures of stands or of these booths where the people are in a terrible, let's say terrible posture, one that expresses no comfort, no confidence whatsoever, and that is actually going to not get them any clients or any interest, and then print those things and email them or just mail them to the company that is presenting there, that has the booth, because they are paying a lot of money to have a booth like that. And of course, if I can then convince them that way, that would be a good way, or that I would be a good way to invest in their own people, then that could generate clients. Aside from that, I'm just going to be walking around and talking to these people, giving them little tips, little advice here and there. And again, it may not be them exactly that can benefit from my training, although in this situation it probably is. But it's also going to be an interesting way to get to their boss, to get in touch with their superiors, so that I can talk to them about presenting at their company. Other things, oh yeah, about the Wargame revised campaigns thing. It's going to turn into something slightly different than expected, in the sense that I confused two mods. The mod or the video where you voted, that was for a mod that's no longer in service. I just confused two different mods. There's one that's called Revised Campaigns, and that one's out of service, it's no longer being maintained. And there's one that's called Revised Campaign. I confused the two because I thought that Revised Campaign was the one that was basically picking up where the other one left off. This is not true, and the first one, which for example redirects the Chinese Bear vs. Dragon campaign to have Norwegian and Swedish units, that's no longer being maintained. The other one is, and that's a complete overhaul of the Second Korean War. So that is what I'm going to be looking at, that's what I'm going to be playing. And it should be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it, because it has some really, really interesting modifications to existing battle groups. But again, more on that in a separate video. Now, and that's pretty much it for this week's War Room. I'm gathering my courage to continue on with week 4 of my Insanity workout. I am going to be doing something that's called Pure Cardio and Cardio Abs today. It's, I believe, a 55-minute workout, and I should be pretty damn battered by the time that I'm done. So, as you're watching this, I hope you have a good week. Let me know what kind of games you're playing this week. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're looking forward to, what your 80-20 results or your 80-20 plan is. And I've linked to, I've linked to the book that I'm reading, so that if you find this material interesting, this, let's say, productivity / psychological stuff interesting, then you can find more about that in the description down below. For now, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good week, and I'll see you next video.